Back here at the National Firearms Museum at NRA headquarters, I'm with Phil Schreier, Senior Curator here at the museum. We're in the Ruger Gallery because, Phil, we're talking Hollywood guns. This great display here at the Firearms Museum, wonderful history, firearms, props, stories about movies. It's fantastic. Thank you for having us back.
Thank you for having us back.
And we're talking about particular firearms and the films they come from. So what do we have this week?
Well, we've got a Schofield revolver and the holster that Steve McQueen used at some point in the 1966 film Nevada Smith.
Now help me out here because I'm not as familiar with that film as some of the other ones. What was that film all about?
Well, in Nevada Smith, the then 35-year-old Steve McQueen is playing a 16-year-old son of a white father and an Indian mother. So he's kind of a social outcast. He was never educated. He was brought up kind of backwards. And his father's killed over gold. So he sets out on this really long quest to kill the three men that did that. There's some great talent in this film. You've got Pat Hingle, famous as the hanging judge in Hang 'em High with Clint Eastwood. You've got Arthur Kennedy, who was in Elmer Gantry and Lawrence of Arabia as Lowell Thomas. And of course, the screen movie icon, idol of the day, Steve McQueen.
Right.
And for us, guys that grew up when we did, even Lonnie Anderson as a brunette.
Wow.
Remember her from The Blonde from
Of course,
WKRP?
yeah.
She makes a brief screen appearance as well.
And a great Hollywood plot, revenge. It's always makes for a great film.
And he goes to such lengths. First off, he's kind of, after his parents are killed over this gold deal, he's taken in by a gun dealer. A guy that sells gun, and he's quite an accomplished gunsmith himself, and so he teaches him how to shoot, and timing and accuracy. And then he learns how to read just so he can find the location of these guys. He goes to prison just to be able to be in the big house to kill one of them that's in there. So he goes to all these extraordinary lengths, and it's a very gripping and emotionally draining film. But the neat thing about it is the Schofield. And the Schofield itself, I don't know how many of these we've had to talk about in the past, but 1966 is a period of time before Valford Jet, Navy Arms, and these other guys started to reproduce the Schofield. And they didn't do that until the 1990s.
Wow.
So when you see some of these early films, and they're using a gun that you don't normally see in a movie, like a single action, which is in the ubiquitous cowboy pistol, right?
Yeah.
They're using a real, original, antique gun.
Wow.
And this one, let me tell you, this is a really special gun. Schofields were bought by the United States Army, and they were kind of running neck and neck with the single action Army Colt to become the gun of the frontier.
Right.
Kind of like Betamax versus VHS.
Right.
Even that's an obsolete.
I was going to say,
anymore, isn't it?
yeah, we know it.
We know what we're talking about.
Two tape formats before DVDs.
Yeah. So, but the cartridges, the 45 Schofield versus 45 Colt. 45 Colt won out because it would go in both guns.
Yep.
45 Schofield will only, So anyway,
okay.
So this is actually marked U.S. on the butt of the gun, has a 4-digit serial number. But when this gun kind of lost out to the Peacemaker, what we now call the Peacemaker, the Single Action Army, the government sold all these off at surplus. Oh. And Wells Fargo bought a pile of them, cut the barrels down, removed the front sight back here, and then stamped right here on the frame, Wells Fargo Express.
Jeez.
And then this S here at the end was added because it was a Stembridge prop gun, so it could always be identified as a Stembridge gun.
Jeez.
It's currently owned by Hollywood Guns and Props, and our good friend Al Frisch lent us the original holster. He matched them up, and it's been refinished, as most of them were, and it's a great, real antique. Just by itself on the collector's market, this is worth thousands of dollars because it's a Wells Fargo Schofield.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, which is amazing. The Firearms had so many lives. Its original incarnation, repurposed, if you will, for Wells Fargo, and then repurposed again as a prop gun.
Right, and you really don't see Schofields that often at all in movies. Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven actually highlights a guy named, the Schofield Kid. Mm-hmm. But speaking of names, have you ever wondered about this? Nevada Smith, Indiana Jones. When George Lucas was originally going to do Indiana Jones, he wanted to name the character after Nevada Smith. So he named the first part Indiana after his dog, mm-hmm. and then his name was Indiana Smith in the early working drafts. But then it was later changed to Indiana Jones, all as a tribute to this powerful film.
Wow, that's
made
cool.
1966 and directed by Henry Hathaway.
I love it when you pull the curtain back and we get the behind-the-scenes stuff. So, thank you very much. How do people come here and see this or get more information on this wonderful Hollywood Guns display here?
Well, we'd like for you to come by and see it yourself. In fact, 2010 was our biggest year in the 75-year history of the National Firearms Museum. So help us make 2011 even better yet. And that's why we extended Hollywood Guns until the spring of 2012. So visit us at the intersection of Route 50 and 66 in Fairfax County, Virginia, just about 15 miles outside Washington, D.C. There's plenty of parking. We're open 9:30 to 5, 7 days a week, and it's free admission. And if you can't visit us in Fairfax, look at us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the web at nramuseum.org.
Phil Schreier, thank you for another fascinating installment of the Curator's Corner.
Thank you, John.